Billy Madison meets Led Zeppelin. Oh, true
Boom.
dad fashion.
Started it up with my foot.
That's a first.
So this is Boys episode 25.
25?
Right?
Yeah.
No. 26. Fuck.
Let's do 26.
Let's just do 20. We'll call it 26. Okay, this is 26 with
I'm okay with that.
Lacey
Yeah.
Tackett.
We're shoehorning a few into 1 week, which we've never done before, so.
Because we have some kind of big news on the horizon.
Yeah, so we want to we want to have some in the tank for when the thing happens.
Can we talk about it yet?
I'm not sure.
I mean, I'm nervous now. I want to hear about it.
Hint at it, and maybe we'll talk about it on the next one.
No, let's just talk about it.
Okay, fuck it.
We had Patrick from the Lost Ogle on our show a couple episodes ago, and he asked if we wanted to help him produce a podcast for the Lost Ogle, and in return, we are going to get to start doing our show at the Paramount building.
Whoa, cool.
Like in a sweet, like Seinfeld apartment-looking room.
Whoa.
With a bathroom, an exposed brick, and a view of Oklahoma City window.
Like the Devon Towers, like right outside.
Do you get like a key code entry?
Oh yeah, it's
key code. It's the whole thing.
Ooh.
Parking in the back. That's queer. It's weird we said at the same time.
That was queer that we said that.
It was queer.
It? That's what
queer.
This lady I used to work with, she would always say that at work. She'd go, "Oh, he's got 6 fingers. That's queer." And it was like, you don't, honey.
But
that's really weird.
You don't say honey either. But
that's not what the definition.
You fucked up twice.
The Webster's definition of queer before all of the hoopla. Same thing with gay and faggot.
Hello, starting off strong tonight.
I'm saying
right.
In Britain, a faggot is a pile of sticks. That's what it was called.
Bundle.
And how it became what it became is, and that now you can't say that word anymore. Gay used to mean happy. That's what it was, and now you can't say that anymore.
But do you think pile of sticks when someone says the word faggot?
No, but back in the day, the word queer just meant odd. That's odd.
Okay,
an odd thing happened.
Well, I agree. I've never saw a bundle of sticks and been like, "Hey, pass me that faggot." Like it just never existed in my life, or your parents' life, or their parents' lives.
No, but I bet Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr.
Well, they say have a fag
well,
too.
That's cigarette.
Yeah, like
sticks. That's their stick.
It's just the inflection.
It's
the meaning.
I mean, I don't think anybody should use Britain in the 50s and 60s as like their idea of a.
Absolutely not. I'm not justifying it. I'm not.
No.
In no way am I condoning any of said language. Regardless, suffice it to say, we're going to move locale, and that's why we're.
That's really exciting.
Bunching them
Congratulations.
Well,
that's awesome.
Not to jinx ourselves, but I talked to Patrick today, and it seems like everything is in the right order, and we're going to do that. And yeah, so we're doubling up this week, so we can maybe take off here in a week or so to move everything, do some sound tests. We gotta get some furniture. We gotta like put some
soundproofing up.
Yeah, like the acoustic panels on the walls.
Yeah, you gotta move in and
gotta make it homey.
Yeah.
Gotta make it comfy.
That's awesome though. That's so exciting.
It's super exciting.
Yeah,
and you know. It's just, I told him, I said, this is a huge thing for us. Like, because it's kind of like the analogy I made was like, it's like being in a band. It's like, we can practice in the garage, but like practicing like in a nice practice space, or maybe you could like equate it like playing shows or whatever. It's like, this is big. It's going to kind of like legitimize the podcast in a way. Like, it's like, would you rather come over here and there's like a cat box? Like I can see where my cat shits right now. Or would you rather go to some like sweet office building that's like downtown? There's a Steven Adams mural on the wall. I mean, there's like, it's awesome.
Well, I didn't see the cat box until you pointed it out.
Did you smell it though?
No.
Good.
No.
Good. I scooped it. It's the only time I scooped the cat box. Because, we have 2 cats. We have Esteban and Puff. And the only time I scoop the cat box is the day of the podcast. Every other day of the week, it's my lady's job, Yeah, and I did it tonight. So
you're supposed to scoop that? I just let the shit just pile up.
And then just throw it away.
I think they just throw the whole one out, and then we have a new cat.
You do? I didn't know you had a cat.
We have a kitten named Mabel.
Oh, Mabel's a good name.
She's cute.
Wait, Mabel with a B as in boy or P as in...
Boy, B as in boy.
Okay.
As in the Goldfinger song, Mabel.
It's an adorable little black kitten.
No.
Is it all black?
It's starting to turn smoky, like grayish black. But yeah, all black with hazel eyes, hence the name.
Yeah. It's adorable. It's like this little tiny little fur ball.
No.
It's so
But
cute.
she's got sisters that were with her and her little, what do you call that?
A litter?
A litter
Yeah.
of kittens. And one of Diana's friends took 2 of them, and they're much larger than Mabel. Like, they look like cats. Whereas Mabel just looks like this tiny...
She's the runt of the litter.
She's a little tiny thing.
She's a tiny
awesome.
thing. Well, now that we got the misogyny, racism, homophobia out of the way, I just want to say this episode is brought to you by AnthemBrewing.com. And yeah, we're enjoying a nice Ogletoberfest tonight.
Anthem Brewing. Delicious beers.
For straight men only. Moving on. Lacey, how you been? I haven't talked to you in a while. I feel like we have some catching up to do. So how are you? How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm
Yeah?
doing good. I'm good. Sorry.
Like, how do you follow that?
I think I
Awesome.
should have had one of these delicious beers before starting maybe. I'm not
Loosen up,
nervous, but
loosen up.
yeah.
Did you just get off of work?
No, actually
Okay.
I got off work earlier today, like 5:30. Went home, made some pasta. We have a broken sink right now, so we're kind of dealing with like cooking with a sink full of old water, which is kind of a weird experience.
Cool.
Yeah. I don't really like, it's weird cooking in a kitchen with a,
Is it something a snake could handle?
yeah, a plumber had to be called and like
Okay.
stuff like that. And our house is old, so who knows what, I sound like such an adult. I'm like, let me talk about the plumbing bill I'm getting ready to get slapped
You were
with.
like the 5th
But that's
person
on my
talking-
mind.
yeah.
Like, that's what I'm thinking about.
It's all
right
you think about. And yeah, this is a recurring theme on the show is plumbing. It's weird. Did it get to the point where you had to like rinse dishes in the bathroom?
Oh yeah, the bathtub is like that's the dish pit right now, which is, I mean, it's doable. It works. It's okay.
Well, you haven't gone the route of let's just eat out instead.
I mean, we kind of did that too. Definitely. Yeah.
Well, then you're like, let's just get pizza.
Yeah,
We can eat. You can order a large pizza and eat on that for a couple of days.
that's true. Well, Austin just got back from Memphis. He went to Goner Fest with our dear friend Randy, also has been on the cast.
Yes.
Yeah, so while they were out of town, I had a really dear friend of mine, Diana. She was getting married, and so I was taking photos at her. Like, she had like kind of a more traditional part of the wedding weekend, which was like her tea ceremony with her family and her husband's family, and then they had like a big like wedding shindig like the next day. And yeah, I don't like between that and just kind of being in and out of the house. Like, I feel like I just kind of ate whatever Diana would feed me for
Sure.
like 2 days, and that got me through. It was pretty good.
And it like put the sink in like the back of your mind.
Yeah,
Like I
totally.
don't use it right now. And then guess
Yeah.
what? Reality comes back and you have a sink full of stagnant water
Yeah, for sure.
and a tub full of dishes.
So we had that in our bathroom, which happens from time to time. The sink will just clog, and it's from hairs, what have you,
Sure.
toothpaste. You know,
Spit.
spit.
It's disgusting. Our bathroom sink is completely clogged. Well, it's not a full stop, but it's like like if you go to wash your face, like that shit fills up and you have to like hurry up and finish washing your face.
Yeah.
And then it goes down eventually, but it's super slow. And so I bought like one of those like shitty bottles of Drano that has like the little plastic snake that's way too short to do anything. It's like 12 inches long.
I haven't seen those, but did you do the thing where you stood in the aisle and you were looking at all of the different Dranos you could buy, going like, well, this one says professional strength and this one says ultra strength. and
It's
they're
all
both-
marketing gimmicks
Yeah.
for. It's bullshit. It's really just
What
straight
the fuck
up
does
bullshit.
that mean?
Buy the cheapest one and go.
I stood no.
Oh.
I tried the cheap route and it did nothing and it smelled like rotten eggs.
Well,
It was
can
the
I-
Yeah,
worst.
it's very
Can I ask you?
sulfurous.
You're a Walmart boy. Did you go to Walmart for your cheapy Drano?
Yeah, Walmart boy went to Walmart again. Yes, and I stood in the Walmart aisle and I was like, professional strength, fast acting. Oh, and then here
No,
co-
you're
and
right. That's exactly what it is. It's professional strength or fast acting. And it's like, can
or
it
full
be
clog,
both?
or full clog. A third
Yeah.
contender entered the ring.
Sure.
And it was like this WWE fucking triple threat. I didn't know.
Sure.
I was
From the high ropes.
I did not need to be there at the time, and I just stood there way too long, like blocking the entire aisle with my basket.
totally.
You're just standing in the middle with 3 jugs in your arm, like, No, I asked that where you purchased it from. Same thing happened. We had a slow clog in the bathroom sink. Went to go get some Drano. I grab maximum strength Drano, a brand name you can trust.
No. Hey, just give me minimum strength.
No.
I'm fine with minimum strength.
I grab it. It's like $8, and I'm about to walk away, and I'm rounding the corner, and on the corner, you have the Up and Up brand, the Target brand. What I'm saying is, we purchased the same Drano before, and it worked, kind of.
Yeah.
Half-assed.
Yeah.
Up and Up, $4.99. Fuck it, I'm going to grab it. Try it. Fuck it, the Drano didn't work. Get it home. 15 minutes later, smooth running Drano.
Whoa, that shit worked?
Worked like a motherfucker.
Wait, so not only are you bashing Walmart, but you're like giving the big thumbs up to Target and their brands?
I mean, let's be honest, we all probably make some very dubious purchases. I know that I buy clothing that costs like $12 very frequently. So whose pockets am I lining, you know?
You're pocketing fat cats.
Corporate fat
cats who are hiring. Well, I'm hiring that's being very generous.
Can you hire a slave?
No, I don't think you can. You take people and
children.
I think we should consult the Bible. I think that doesn't it.
But see, I do that in everything I do, in all walks of life.
He takes his Bible to Target with him.
I do, and I call. What does Ecclesiastes have to say about socks? And I'll flip to it.
Can't wear two different kinds.
That is for damn sure.
Is that true?
You can't wear two different
fibers.
Yeah,
that's
together.
right. That's right.
There's a lot of fucked up shit in the Bible.
That's right.
Quote
That's
me
so
on that.
sad. The polyester wool blend is like the best of all possible sock worlds too. So that's
the most comfortable.
But you're doomed to hell if you put them on.
That's true.
We're doomed to hell anyway. It's okay.
That's true. Or hell doesn't exist, and we're all just floating on this rock with a meaningless existence. It's whatever.
No, totally. I was thinking about that just yesterday. Actually, I was thinking about the fact that I was almost baptized twice and never went through with it.
How do you get almost baptized?
Like I got very
Band name, by the way.
I got really close to being baptized twice. Like once when I was probably 8 or 9, and then again when I was like 12, rounding up to 13. But it never happened. So if I'm wrong.
Was it to freak out? Like you didn't want to do it? You
just like put a foot in the water and was like, nope, not for me. It's cold. It's cold.
No,
throw that robe up like, fuck this.
No, but that would be like the most amazing Facebook video viral video that I want to see. Like the child like putting a foot in the baptism pool and then just going whoop, 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 and running away. Like,
or just like
sounds amazing.
Shitting or pissing in it.
Sure, or that.
Or I want to see someone fall into one. There's got to be like
that. Mark my words. That's on YouTube.
Or someone's like belly flopped into one or something. There's got to be something.
I was baptized when I was about 13, and it was a traumatizing experience.
Oh, yeah.
It was the classic, like, the pastor goes behind the wall and then reemerges from behind the wall, and he's got his robe on, and I'm back there in my, like, white robe, and I got my pointy hood on, and there's a cross burning in the background, and he brings me out, to the music, and he's like, are you ready for this, brother? And I was like, I'm ready. And, like, he's like, you can hold your nose if you want. He gave me the pregame. He kind of gave me the run through before. Mm-hmm. And I held my nose, but I didn't hold it good enough. And when he dunked me, he like pushed my hand out of the way on accident, like with his big fat preacher arm. And I like sucked in water, and it felt like I was underwater for an eternity.
Well, it is because they do the thing and they bring you up. Rise again to whatever.
I got dunked. I got straight up fucking dunked.
I got dunked when I was 6 or 7 years old. It was creepy.
Yeah. See, the first time I think I didn't go through with it the first time because, well, multiple reasons. But one, I did not want to get up in front of the entire congregation and do that. That just seemed embarrassing to me. Like I didn't want to make a spectacle of myself, So wasn't that into it. And at the time, I was like a child and didn't understand what any of it meant anyway. So it's not like I wasn't invested in my baptism, And then the second time that I skipped out on being baptized was when I was going to like a Lutheran church when I was 12 or 13. Because at the time I was hanging out with all these kids who went to church. So that was like my social group, And we were doing our confirmation classes. And I got like halfway through the confirmation class. I think the moment that I hit where I was just like, what? We got to like the Holy Trinity, and it was like the Holy Ghost. What? Like, why? Why?
What kind of Mickey's Haunted Mansion shit is this?
No, totally. And I think that was kind of my reaction. And so I just kind of like gradually like petered out at that point.
Just kind of like that Homer Simpson into the
backing into the
Just like-
bush.
yeah. Trying to blend in with the wall and like edge my way out of the room. Totally. Yeah.
Being young and in church was so weird because they would say Holy Ghost. It wasn't Holy Spirit until we got older, until the 90s. Because
Oh, yeah, you're right. I guess that's true. Yeah.
Because by then it was like, wow, you're kind of freaking these kids out by saying Holy Ghost. I imagine like a youth pastor, like a children's, Sunday school teacher, like putting on the Disney Scary Sounds record, and there's like chains rattling.
The Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost.
Yeah, it's like, ghosts? What the fuck? Like, I thought this was the Bible. I thought ghosts were bad. Ghosts equal scary.
Well, he's a Holy Ghost.
What, was he shot or something?
Oh, boy.
Hey, would you pass me another one of those anthems?
Sure,
I think
bro.
that deserved something. I don't know. Anyways, so this is a great point to start here, Lacey. We've been friends a long time, but I don't really know that much about your childhood and how you grew up. And part of this wonderful podcast is to dive into how we got to where we are now. And I would like to kind of know, you don't have to go into details, or you can go into all the details, but I just kind of want to know what it was like growing up as Lacey, as
Sure.
little Lacey.
Well, okay. So whenever you asked me to be on the podcast, I think you said, hey, we always like to, kind of have you think about like a story from childhood, and I like listen to the podcast. And so usually I remember these stories being funny, and I was like racking my brain trying to think of a funny story from childhood. And all of them are like 30 seconds long, and they're so boring. But I've got like a funny one, a really depressing one, and then like kind of a pervy one from like more adolescent. So I'll just round you through all three of those.
Okay,
Perfect.
They're fast
pervy.
too.
No.
So-
Let's say, should we say pervy for last, or
I think pervy
what's
should go last.
it's ladies'
Yeah,
choice?
pervy for last.
Sure,
Yeah.
ladies' choice.
Perfs go last.
Okay.
Always.
Sometimes
So-
they go first.
Well, I guess. Good point.
Defending.
So, like, I was actually thinking about it because I was trying to think of like memories from when I was a kid, and what if I had to pick a story. Like, of course, I'm processing this in my brain, and the first thing that popped into my head is this picture of me from when I'm like 4 or 5. And I think I kind of remember that as like one of my first traumatic experiences. It wasn't traumatic at all, but you can tell in my face in the photo, like how upset I was by it. But it, like, basically the first memory I have of something kind of bad happening to me is so mild. I had this folding chair, like a lawn chair,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah.
And they
But
made
a
children's
yeah,
side.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it had this fabric seat and back in like a zoo animal print.
Mm-hmm.
And I like loved the shit out of this chair. Like it was always the chair I would like pull out of the closet and like set it up in the living room and watch my cartoons and like.
Every kid has a chair.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Every
you have
kid
your
has a chair.
Yeah. So I loved the fuck out of this chair, and I sat in it like way, way too old. Like I was getting way too big for that chair. And at some point I got stuck in the chair. Like I think I just put my arm through the fabric or something like that, and I got myself completely entangled in it. And I got completely jammed in it, and my dad had to saw it off of me with like a handsaw. But it's so weird because there aren't that many photos of me from this era of my childhood at all, because both my parents were alcoholics and they were like drunk for a lot of it, so not tons of photos.
And if they were like
But-
super blurry.
Usually done by like relatives, basically. So holiday pictures. But the one picture that I remembered, like the first one I could remember that actually registers in my brain as a memory, is me getting sawed out of that fucking chair.
Which is totally traumatizing to a child.
It's not that bad, but it's really funny looking. And I can't for the life of me remember where that photo is. I think my mom has all of the photos. Like, I kind of want to make it my Facebook profile photo now.
Dude, that would be the ultimate TBT. Hashtag
totally.
TBT.
Yeah. Because everyone loves photos of yourself where you're just like red faced and it looks like you've just been squalling like an asshole for like an hour while someone tries to help you.
Well, think about it this way. You pull up your favorite chair to watch, I don't know, Care Bears.
It's your comfort zone.
Gem and the
nothing should go
Holograms.
wrong.
Nothing should go wrong. And then your arm slips through it. That's traumatizing because like I can't get it out. Fuck! But you don't say fuck because you're a kid. You go, oh man! And then you're you're drunk dad because I got it, and he just takes a saw, and you don't know what he's gonna do with that. What do you do with that thing? It looks sharp. And then he just starts cutting away at your favorite thing.
Now, okay.
It was a long process too. I mean,
Yeah.
it took like 2 hours
I'm
because
sure.
it's a handsaw and it's made of steel or whatever.
Was one of
so-
the handsaws with like the flimsy with the wood handle?
Yes.
Yeah, those
Yes.
take forever.
Oh, like the ones that people play, like on
Yeah, yeah.
Hee-Haw?
No,
Like a-
it
like
was
a
more
hacksaw?
No, like a
It
handsaw.
had basically a shallow D-shaped handle with a strand
one of
across
those.
the bottom.
One of those. Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
the handle that sticks off the side.
No, it's
No, it's like one of the, I know what you're talking about. So it's like a D. It looks kind of like a carabiner, but instead of the clippy
Yeah.
thing, it's like there's a saw on
Yeah.
it.
But where's the handle? Oh, no.
you
you're
just
the
use
top
the
is
whole.
the- yeah.
It's like what my dad would chop down like tree limbs with.
Yes, exactly.
A lot
I
of
think
times
that's
they're
exactly what
orange
they're
on
for.
top.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I think it was blue.
Okay, blue. Blue's a
It
great
was-
color
it was
too for
blue,
saws.
Robbie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, was he cutting through metal with this?
Yes,
Oh, that's not going to work.
Yeah, those
That's
are.
it
gonna take
did
a-
eventually.
Yeah.
That's a.
It took a long time.
You
Handy
didn't just try
dad.
pushing your arm back through where it came?
Oh, we pushed.
Did they get the
multiple
butter out?
Gotta
no,
get
there
the
was
butter
no
out.
butter involved.
You got to be
I'm
butter
so
that
glad
kid.
there wasn't. No. Whereas like I'm always trying to throw a peanut butter baby joke in there. Everyone's seen Peanut Butter Baby, right?
Yeah, it's the baby that goes. I love that
Yeah.
fucking baby.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll show you on the break.
Okay.
You'll see it later. If to anyone listening, just look. If you haven't seen Peanut Butter Baby, just look it up.
It's a goodie.
I don't even
Okay.
like babies or videos. Or
I don't like
the
peanut butter,
internet.
babies, the internet, laughing.
I like
hate
Peanut
it
Butter
all.
Baby though.
Yeah, it's great.
It's pretty good.
I kind of have a similar story. When I was a child, I was probably all of, I don't know, 6 or 7 years old. My dad and his friends would go out to the lake and smoke pot and ride their dirt bikes around, which was awesome for me because it was like, cool, I just get to like hang out in the back of my dad's truck all day, which back then, like the bed of a truck was like a fucking continent, you know? Like,
Yeah, when everything's huge.
yeah, you had your toys, you had like some dirt, you know? It was great. Well, one time I was sitting on the back of the tailgate. The tailgate was down, and he and his buddies were off riding their shitty dirt bikes or whatever. And I reached to get something, and I fall off the edge of the tailgate, and one of the little weird like hooks on the side of the tailgate, like that latches the tailgate shut, caught the back belt loop of my jeans. And there I am dangling like a fucking spider. Like I can't touch the ground because my dad, he didn't have like a huge truck, but I was small. Yeah. So I'm just dangling and I cannot. And like my balls are being strangled, my gut, I'm being cut in two by my jeans. And I fucking hung there for like 15 minutes while they were gone, screaming.
The whole time.
Screaming over two-stroke engine exhaust and dirt bikes of other people just whipping around that were like, fuck this kid, I ain't his dad. Like I was screaming and my dad finally came back and kind of the same thing. He didn't have a camera with him, but he did make a point to like laugh at me with his friends before he like got his pocket knife out and basically like fucking Crocodile Dundee like cut me down from a fucking trap in the jungle. Yeah, basically.
Oh no.
Oh man,
That's
I wish you would have got a
hilarious.
picture.
That sucks.
That hanging there, I say 15 minutes. It might have been 2 minutes.
Oh, I mean, yeah. And I said I was in that chair for 2 hours. It might have been 15 minutes. I don't know.
I was in that chair for 14 days.
Yeah. There's something though, I will say, like, there's something about seeing someone stuck in something that is both extremely funny and also really uncomfortable. Like when we went up and went to St. Louis for a wedding, our friends Brittany and Kevin got married. They had their wedding at the City Museum in St. Louis. Are you all familiar?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I know you and Diana are.
Is that the junk museum?
Yeah, well, it's not
so
junk,
to speak.
but
Right.
yeah, I mean, it's a huge warehouse. It was like a shoe factory that they converted and has all these slides and there's
Crazy
like tunnels in
stuff.
the wall and it's badass. But you know, the area outside, there's almost like a bird cage kind
Yeah.
of shaped thing.
They get married inside of that thing?
No, unfortunately not. That would have been really awesome. But at some point after the wedding, they just let us run free. And I remember being in the bottom of that bird cage and I'm waiting this line to go up to the top. And it's kind of one of those places where once you get in, you must keep going to get out.
Yeah.
You can try to back
Okay,
out, but you're
okay.
fighting against the flow. Like, you know, it's like full clog if you get stuck.
Right.
So, and
Gotta
this
drive
was
it
like,
through.
oh my gosh, the most awkward social full clog I've ever seen. I felt so bad for this person. They were trying to go through, you have to go through, there's a steel ceiling on this cage, and it's got basically the size of like a medium pizza, maybe a large pizza. There's a hole in the ceiling the size of a large
Talking
pizza.
about 18 inches.
Okay.
Yeah, okay,
That's about a large pizza.
Where I come from,
diameter,
that's an XL.
not circumference. Yeah.
Okay.
But so on top of it is like, there are like 3 poles and there's a cap of the same size. So picture like a stovepipe hat, but it's a hole at the bottom.
Okay.
And you're supposed to worm your arms up around that cap and then wiggle yourself like up. I'm losing my vocals because I'm like trying to show you.
Right.
But you have to worm
Gotta
yourself
shimmy.
up, through the side of that hole and out. And oh my gosh, this person who was trying to go through just had a little bit of a spare tire.
A little heft to him.
Shoulders went through fine. The midsection did not go. It got stuck. And there was a struggle of about 3 minutes, and then a child next to me who was waiting to go up through it after me is probably like 6 years old and just has no sense of personal space whatsoever. Just puts his hands on their ass and starts shoving. So you're watching what is essentially the bottom portion of a person, like muffin top shirt has long gone way up, you know.
I'm just imagining trying to put biscuits back in the can.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what it looked like. And this kid thought it was the funniest shit they had ever seen. And they were trying to help. And they did actually help, which is great because you need that leverage to get up there.
Yeah.
But me, a person with I don't have good upper body strength at all. All my strength is in my lower half. Like watching that, thankfully taught me a great lesson. I got through okay because I kind of did it on my side rather than counting on my muffin top being able to squeeze through that hole in the bottom. But oh my gosh.
Dude, did you laugh? Like, were people laughing?
I should not have laughed, but I did.
I would have laughed. I would have laughed.
There are times where, I mean, like, I think I did a laugh and then I did like a holler, like, hey, you okay up there? Do you need help? I mean, this kid's trying to help you. They were like, no, I'm okay. It's okay. It's helping. And then like that kid just like leans into that ass, just like shoving it. Like,
kids don't know how gross an adult ass is. Like, I'm going to go on the record again.
What, because a child's ass is pristine? I bet most children are way dirtier than adults.
Children's asses are beautiful. They haven't been worn out yet. Like they haven't.
They're not sitting in an office chair for 8.5 hours
You're
a day.
right.
You don't have hemorrhoids. You don't have the secretary spread, as they call it.
You're not blowing ass.
I mean, this wasn't like a Korean spa. It wasn't like full nude or anything. You know,
Right.
It's not.
Might as well have been.
Dude, it's so funny. Like that moment reminds me of Erica and I went to the caverns in Oklahoma, alabaster caverns.
Yeah.
And there's few things in life I enjoy, like truly enjoy. I mean, I enjoy a lot of things, but truly just like it makes me feel alive. And one of those things is embarrassing my wife in groups of people. Not saying anything mean to her, but just like saying something embarrassing. And we're getting this tour, and it was kind of the same thing. It was like lots of people that day. It was a sultry summer Saturday, and we're going through this cave, and it's like as you go down, it's getting colder and it's getting darker, it's getting tighter, and we're sitting there and we're being guided by our tour guide, and he's like, as you can see, here are the veins of alabaster. Here are the veins. He kept saying veins over and over, and I loudly proclaimed from the back of which one's the main vein? And he laughed. And then
It's pretty good.
This comic book guy from The Simpsons next to me goes, main vein. And Erica
I don't understand. Why would you repeat it like that?
Because it's a penis joke. Like it was.
It is?
You never heard I got to go drain the main vein?
No.
Welcome to Boys Podcast.
Mm.
It's a euphemism for the male genitalia.
I had no idea.
Are you being serious or are you trolling us right now?
No, I'm being totally serious.
You've never heard a trashy guy
I
at a truck
literally
stop?
thought that the tour guide laughed because you made a great cave joke, and no one ever does that for him.
A great cave joke. Robbie had this great cave joke.
It's like Gallagher had his pumpkins, Robbie Ray had his caves. He just tours caves and makes jokes about
every
veins.
cave. I start out with the main
You do
vein.
understand that your urethra is not a vein, right?
Right, but I mean,
But a man.
So how are you draining the main vein?
You don't cut your penis when you urinate?
No.
Well, it's
Weird.
like
up and not across.
like a vein of like a river vein, right? Like a stream of something going to some other location. I don't fucking know.
The origin.
Basically, I'm saying your boy joke sucks.
It does. And Erica thought so too. But she just turned like white as a ghost. And she was just like, Robbie, stop it. Like she did the mom pinch the back of my arm. Like, stop doing that. Going back to the euphemism, I think it originates from the male penis is veiny. There's like veins in it. So I think it's like saying it's your main vein because it's your main thing. It's your big wiener, you know? I don't know. Anyways, Matt Street and his daughter were with us too, and like Matt thought it was funny, but
That's good.
Bonnie didn't.
No, Bonnie didn't get it either.
No.
Yeah.
I guess girls aren't. But why would it? Why would girls know our dumb shit that dudes say?
Well, and
Because we have to hear it all the time.
That's
yeah,
true.
and it's gross and it's juvenile. Like a woman doesn't like stand up from the dinner table and go, well, you know, I don't know, I don't even want to say anything because like it's anything
That's
I
not
say.
true, though. I mean, like, I know lots of women who make gross jokes. I was actually going to tell you a story of an embarrassing
Gotta
story of
relieve the
embarrassing
sleeve?
my.
I don't. Sorry, just first thing that popped in my head.
Relieve the sleeve.
That's weird too. It doesn't make any sense.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. What were you gonna say?
No, not at all. The last time the last time I really embarrassed Austin was actually in kind of a similar situation, but it's way more horrible. I'm so mean.
That you embarrassed Austin?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we went to the lake for Garrett's birthday. And we all got really hammered. Well, Austin didn't get really hammered because like he is, you know, a reasonable adult who doesn't he's pretty like
He can maintain.
yes, absolutely. He like gets there and then he maintains. Whereas I'll just
I'm like, is there beer left? I'm gonna have that.
I'm gonna drink it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I got really, really hammered that night. And the next day we drove to Arkansas and we were gonna go hiking. And we're in like the there's like a guide, basically. I don't know what you would call it, like a main ranger station, essentially, at most places where you hike, where they have maps and keychains and stuff like that. And of course, I'm very hungover. I have like a belly full of 8-hour-old whiskey. And I just like, oh my gosh, ripped the worst fart in the middle of this gift store.
Okay. Bad by sound or scent?
By scent.
Was it indeed silent?
Yes, it was.
Was it deadly?
Yes, it was really bad. And of course, as soon as I realized it, I just went like, and like walked away right as like a young couple, probably about our age, walk up to look at the merchandise I was just standing in front of. And the only person left standing there was Austin. And I booked it outside. And as soon as he came out, he was like, "You are awful. You're so awful. They thought that I did that. They thought that I farted." And I was like, "No, I'm sorry."
Dude, that's so awesome. But
so sorry about that.
Take a bullet for your wife, man.
But as you get older, like, wouldn't you just be like even if you didn't deal it, wouldn't you have been proud? Like, yeah,
No.
so what?
No,
farted.
who's like that? No. I mean, like, you should have some human decency and not like rip horrible farts in this tiny cabin with poor ventilation in the middle of the summer with like.
That's true.
Yeah.
But it depends on where you're at,
It's
because
horrible.
when Walmart boy goes to Walmart, I enjoy pushing him out. Like if I'm in like the frozen foods aisle and like we're the only ones in the aisle, like I like to fart in that aisle because I feel like the air's heavier because it's cold. And it would just linger longer. And so like I'll be walking with the cart and you know, Eric will be in front of me and I'll be like, "Hey," and she'll turn around, I'll just be like, "Ugh, ugh," and I'll be farting like, and I'm like, somebody has to hear these. Right?
What you do is you go to the frozen food section where like the frozen meals are that have the giant door. You open a door, you fart in that door, and then you shut the door.
That's kind of funny.
Ooh, that's good.
Never done it,
That's
but
advanced.
I might try
I think
that.
that's kind of funny.
That's pretty advanced. It just holds it all in there, and then when someone opens it,
Would it cause like unusual condensation patterns?
could.
I just imagine like from the books when I was a kid, like the green fart scent. That's like with of course like the two
Yeah.
flies around it and the little fly trails.
Just hanging
Like a
out.
combination of Pigpen and Slimer?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
What was that? There was a children's book series. He was like man, he was like an aardvark. No, I'm thinking of two different ones. One of them has since become a meme, and it's like the guy clenching his fist really hard in his pocket. Somebody's going to know this. And then there was another one, and it was, the artist was, Arthur was the aardvark.
Arthur is the name of the character, yeah.
Okay, there was another one, and I think Mercer Mayer drew, but that wasn't Arthur.
The Family of Monsters, right?
Were they monsters, or they were like hairy?
They were like, yeah,
brown hairy monsters.
They were monsters, yeah.
Okay, that's the one I remember. It was like, you shouldn't pass gas in public because it's bad, and it had the green little like swirly air. Oh man,
farts.
And now,
farts are funny. They are funny, unless you blame it on someone else. Basically,
no, you never blame it on someone else. It's the. Did you ever? By the way, speaking of farts, did we ever get any feedback on the he who smelt it, the feller?
We did. I still think it's he who smelt it dealt it.
It is he who smelt it dealt it, right?
Because there was some confusion.
And the smeller's the feller.
The smeller's the feller. Right? Have you heard that dad joke?
No.
Guilty dog barks the loudest. Have you heard that one?
Maybe.
Okay. Are there any girl ones? Like she who.
I mean, these are all like daycare jokes, right? I went to daycare. I think I heard most of them.
There's got to be more. There's got to be more that we don't know. I do remember we talked about this before. The put the thumb to the forehead and say 1, 2, 3. Didn't eat it when somebody farted. That was a big thing. And I want to say you said like doorknob.
Yeah, I don't know what that was for.
Or you touched your nose and said,
what is the doorknob thing?
I don't know.
You know, I work with someone. I like humiliated myself the other day. I've humiliated myself by showing my age like twice at work in the last week. Most recently, I think I made like a Sinead O'Connor joke, and whoever I was working with was like, what? And I was like, like ripping a picture of the Pope in half. And they were like, what? And I was like, never mind. I can't explain that now. Like, yeah.
No, they probably weren't.
That was horrible. But then the other time that I embarrassed myself, and maybe this isn't an age thing, but I think it kind of is, like, someone was talking about lemonade, and I don't know. I think I made a reference to that. Like, is it considered a limerick? Like milk, lemonade.
Yeah, around the corner. Yeah.
Yeah. I said like the first half of that, and they were like, what? And I was like, milk, lemonade. Round the corner, fudge is made. And they were like, what the fuck? They were so like acted like that was really shocking to them. Like, did you not go to elementary school? Like,
yeah. Did you guys not? What did you do in elementary?
Talk about?
Yeah. What do you sing about?
Yeah, exactly.
We didn't sing songs.
Well, it's funny because the first thought in my head is milk, lemonade. Mm-hmm. Okay, first of all, like that's weird for children to sing. Like
milk,
because only half of the nipples in the world, produce milk. If you think about it, so like if a guy's saying milk, there's no milk. There's hair when you get older.
I mean, but it's a beverage which lines you up for lemonade.
What comes next? The lemonade. You go down south.
Right?
Then here comes the lemonade.
Around the corner.
Fudge?
Fudge is made.
Well, it's not a liquid anymore. It's a solid. Hopefully.
Depending.
If you're in good health.
Once you get older and that ass goes to hell, it's all liquid.
Like a leaky faucet. I was at Grey Owl Coffee in Norman a couple of weeks ago.
Speaking of brown liquid.
Exactly.
Man, that's why I like I'm like kind of a coffee snob. I know you're not, Robbie, but I'm kind of a coffee snob because I like the butthole shudder with a good cup of coffee. You know what I mean? Like,
wait, are you talking about like physically, like it shuts your butthole so you can't shit?
No, not like shutter.
Or like quivering.
Shudder. Yeah. Like I need some like.
Want to clean it out. Let's get it out of here.
Come on, let's go. This is why I drink coffee, for the energy and for the poop afterwards.
To shit?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wait,
it's great.
Oh, it's a great diuretic,
you drink coffee to shit?
Well, not like I don't have to have it.
So next time you see Lacey with a coffee in her hand, she's trying to shit.
Fudge is about to be made.
Anyway, but it does that for everyone,
fudge.
right?
Yeah,
that's not insane,
no.
right?
I definitely do this. So cool. I'm at this Grey
That's why
Owl,
I don't drink it. Go ahead.
and they have one of those a marquee kind of a sign hanging up. You can put little thing where Brahms puts or whatever.
Oh,
shit.
like the slide-in letters.
Yeah, slide-in marquee sign, and it had the milk lemonade thing. And I look at it and I go,
that's really weird.
I go, ha! And because it's a coffee shop, so it's quiet, and everyone looks up at me, and I slap Diana like, hey. Yeah, and she goes, God. And I'm looking around like everyone else is just like, they don't even know what it is. I'm like, come on, man. Nope. But the first time I heard it was on SNL.
Really?
Yeah, but I was a kid. It was
Okay.
when, what's his face? John Malkovich was hosting, and it was a sketch where Mike Myers hosted like the British film. John Malkovich came out as this like British actor or whatever, and he's talking about he did Henry VIII or something. He's like, I forgot my lines, and I merely went milk, milk, lemonade. But he said, the other side is where fudge is made.
I'm kind of more of a fan of Around the Corner.
Me too. It makes more sense.
And maybe it's the nostalgia
I like
factor
both.
playing in here, but
I like both.
But here's the thing. Maybe he never heard that, and the writers wrote it because they taught. You know what I mean? I don't know.
could be a regional thing.
But
We've
it's
talked about
one of
this.
those things that gets the kids just don't
Mhm.
get sing songs. We talked about that before too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We talk about a lot of things over and over again.
It's weird how words come out.
I know.
You just keep saying them.
It's like
So-
it's like the fudge is made into the microphone.
Oh, you're just spitting out the fudge. So you were saying you had 3 stories, one of which was the thing.
So the second one, this is actually it. This lines up perfectly. Good segue. Because I was having a really hard time thinking of stories that weren't just totally depressing. I don't know why. That's what I think of when I think of childhood memories. I just think of like the horrible stuff, basically. But
Cool.
I know, right? Isn't that sad? It was kind of a weird realization to make that like so many of my memories are like, oh, that's sad. But I was thinking about it and was like, well, going on Boys, we're going to talk about nostalgia a lot, I bet. And then I was thinking about it, I was like, I think actually I'm not a very nostalgic person because I relate so many of my like early memories to more like negative things. For me, it's not like, oh, I'm, wistful about going to the lake when I was a kid. Like, it's more like the sad story I was going to tell, which was really, really sad. And I was thinking about it and it was like actually kind of upsetting to think about it again, but definitely like a big memory of mine. I remember when I was in elementary school, this was like after my parents had gotten divorced, there was this dog that got hit by a car, maybe like 3 or 4 streets over from where we lived. It was like a big dog, like probably 100-pound dog. And whoever lived at the house there, like we lived in this neighborhood kind of close to Putnam City North.
Okay.
So it was just kind of being developed in the early 90s. And like, there weren't a lot of houses out there. And I think that this street maybe just wasn't like fully inhabited because they just left it there for like 3 or 4 days.
God.
I know. And I remember one day my mom, she picked me up from school. Picked me up from daycare. Because I always rode that cool daycare bus home from
Sure,
school. And
yeah.
then my mom would pick me up later. Yeah. So she picks me up and she used to drive this Mercury Sable, like baby blue wagon. And she picks me up and she's got like 2 pairs of gardening gloves and like a plastic sheet. And she's like, we're going to go get that dog.
No way.
Yeah. And so I was like, what are you talking about? We're not going to do that. And she's like, yes, we are. We're going to go get that dog. So she drives over there on the way home and she like backs the wagon up to this dog that's been laying in the street for like 4 days. And I'm just, of course, I'm like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this, Mom. Like, I really don't want to.
How old are you again?
I would have been in elementary school, so probably like 9 or 10. And, honestly, like, Austin and I have talked a lot about his childhood, like, especially when he lived in Asher and he was kind of like growing up on the farm. So in retrospect, like maybe it wouldn't be that shocking if you like grew up in the country. But for me, it was like, oh, God. Like it still makes me kind of queasy. But so she had me put on these gloves and she's like, okay, you get the back legs and I'll get the front legs and we're going to lift it up onto this tarp and then we're going to lift up the tarp and put it in the wagon. But it was like, oh my gosh, that dog was it had been laying there for so long that it just like kind of all fell apart. It was like the worst thing I've ever seen.
Like, man, I could understand
Ugh.
putting the dog in a tarp, but putting it in the car?
Yeah, that
or
was
maybe
the
like in the
plan.
bed of a truck.
Yeah.
No,
that was like the plan.
What about calling animal control?
I don't know. Well, but that's like kind of part of what I was thinking about. Like I said, like I grew up with 2 parents that were like alcoholics, like actively drinking, like probably from when I was like 5 or 6 on. Like they were probably drinking all of that time, but I didn't really realize it until I started hitting like my mid-20s. Like
Oh, wow,
how many
yeah.
of my memories, like kind of, I knew that when I was a teenager. But it's weird how like when you get older and you get more experienced and you can kind of read people better, you're better at psychoanalyzing people, and you kind of start doing that in the past.
Right. And you go,
So, yeah.
wow, that wasn't just normalcy back then. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
like that was kind of weird.
Yeah. So I was thinking about that story with the dog and like how, so basically at that point, like I started crying and just said, I'm not doing this. And my mom was like, okay. And we just kind of gave up and went home and like didn't talk about it ever again. But in retrospect, I'm like, oh my gosh, were you just like totally hammered and you thought it was a great idea to go get that dog? That is so weird. Like,
I totally
it's really
understand
weird.
that because like sometimes like if I'm like inebriated late at night, I'm like, it's a great idea to clean the fucking kitchen or like do all the dishes or deep clean the bathroom. And then you do it because you're drunk and you're like, fine. And then you wake up in the morning and you're like, wow, I did that. And like, I don't want to do that when I'm sober. So it's probably the same with the dead dog, which by the way, is way more traumatizing than falling in a chair.
Yeah, totally.
Right.
No, that's what I'm saying. The first one's funny. The second one is traumatizing. The third one's pervy.
Oh man.
Okay, we'll get to that one.
Yeah, but the dog thing, like, oh my
Yeah,
God.
yeah. Like actually, it's kind of weird because I have a ton of memories like that, and I think until I met our good friend James Cooper, like he kind of grew up in a similar situation, but not exactly. Obviously, he's we're not the same people, but you know, kind of similar. Like he grew up with like an alcoholic dad who was kind of like in and out and just not very responsible, basically. But until I started talking to him about it, like I didn't really know that many people who talked openly about like their messed up parents, basically. So it was really weird. Like once I kind of started thinking about like all the times that was strange when I was especially when I was a teenager, but yeah, also when I was a kid. It was
Did
weird.
it ramp up as you got older, or do you think you just or did you ramp up into like realizing that it was fucked up?
Well, I mean, kind of both, but it's one of those things where I don't know. Maybe as you get older, you just get more comfortable talking about things like that. It's not something I talk about a lot because like sometimes I think about it, I'm like, I don't think a lot of my close friends even like have heard a lot of these weird stories. But like I remember, it was actually relates to one of the reasons why I didn't get baptized. The other thing that kind of happened, like when I was going to church when I was like 13, my buddy Elizabeth was having her 13th birthday and she did a church lock-in. We all know about the church lock-in, right?
Oh, yeah.
Loved them.
Yeah.
Loved them because I was a fucking asshole.
Yeah,
I was a little meanie.
Yeah.
No, I mean, we were 13. We were all assholes, totally.
Yeah.
But so we had this church lock-in and I think my birthday was like the month after hers or a couple weeks after hers. So my mom and her mom were like, oh, we'll just lump them together, But my mom ended up, oh my gosh, it was like 6 or 7 of us and we're all like middle school girls, and oh my God, like we were little shitheads. I was a little shithead, totally. And a couple of my friends totally were too, but mostly like pretty normal for 13-year-old kids. But my mom got really pissed because none of us wanted to have our photo taken or something like that. But she ended up yelling at us and calling one of my 13-year-old friends a bitch.
Oh, Mom,
It's so weird too because if you ever meet my mom, like I'm like my mom and I are totally chill now. Like I love my mom. Like it's so weird though because she's so, you would never think that about her. Like you never would. Like that's maybe a testament to how much people can change in like 15 years, I guess. But yeah, I still think about it sometimes. I'm like, I can't believe my mom stormed in that bathroom full of 6 13-year-old girls and
that weren't hurting a thing in the world.
Screamed that one of them was a bitch. That's crazy.
Like in the big picture, you guys could be no less like bad or scary or whatever. Like, and going back to what you said, like not being very nostalgic. It's weird because that just like triggered like this thought in my brain. Like I'm really only nostalgic about like my teenage years on, because when I was young, life sucked.
Yeah.
Like, man, my parents fought all the time. My mom was a big time alcoholic. Like, it was so weird because she was like super mom until I was about 10. And then this perfect like crossfade of like my realization and her alcoholism just crossed. And she went from being like the most wonderful mom that all of my friends liked and wanted to come stay the night at my house, to like all my friends being scared of her. And I was like, why are you guys scared of her? Isn't this the way all moms are supposed to act? You know, hiding in the bathroom, drinking beer and talking on the phone all night. It's like, and I remember like she would party with this lady across the street who had a daughter and a husband. I don't know why I just said a lady, but yeah, this husband and wife. And going back to childhood, just being kind of dark and weird. So this little girl was named Nicole, and she was my first sexual experience, which we can talk about that after the perv story. But I remember her mom and dad, it was like this classic like 80s parents thing where they were like drinking wine coolers, and the daughter Nicole, who was probably like 13 or so at the time, she was washing their Trans Am. And the dad was like sitting in a lawn chair with a wine cooler and like a hose with like the gun attachment on it.
It's like an Alan Jackson music video or
Kinda.
something. Okay.
But he was like watching her like wash the wheels of this Trans Am. And like I was just over there with my mom. Like I wasn't really hanging out. I was like there for a second. And like she didn't wash the wheels good enough. So he was like mean, like in a mean way, like squirting her with the water hose. Not in a fun way. Like, hey, I got you. It's cold, isn't it? He was like shooting her with it. And he's like, wash that better. And they were all, I mean, in retrospect, they were all inebriated, obviously. Mm-hmm. But like, that's something I just blocked out of my mind for many years until much later. I was like, whoa, I remember that happened. So yeah, there's like a lot of like, man, like dark childhood moments, like not to get too deep or dark, but I don't really remember parts of my childhood growing up because I truly think that I blocked that shit out of my brain because it was quite traumatizing as a kid. You know, and I grew up, I'm fine. I don't have any deep-seated issues. No more.
Well, everybody has like deep-seated issues.
Right,
I think that's kind of the point, right?
Like I don't kill kittens or anything like that.
No,
but,
I mean,
but you know what I'm saying?
You don't
like,
do that.
Well,
Puff lives another day.
That's right.
Yeah. Well,
Puff and Mabel.
Like you said, everyone has deep-seated issues, and it all kind of depends on how you, I guess, grew with those, you know what I mean? Like some people never let go of it and they just let it out and they're still assholes, or they're resentful and hateful and mean and just bitter, shitty people, or they're fucking crazy and kill cats. Or you go, you know what? I'm not gonna be affected by that.
Right. And
you kind of grow up, try to live the best life possible and power through it. That's not saying that some of the things, some of the mannerisms or things that you do aren't attributed to those quote dark.
Right. I just always felt like it could be a lot worse. Mm-hmm. I was like, man,
no,
like
that's absolutely true. Yeah.
At least I wasn't Catholic, like, because I was a cute boy. I was a cute boy with a beautiful bottom.
And that's so sad.
It's sad, but it's kind of funny, right? I'm joking. It's fucking terrible. Yeah. No, it's horrible. Of course, it's horrible. But that is, I mean, as grim as that sounds, it's true. It's like, man, at least I wasn't like molested or like beaten. Like,
yeah, at least
my mom slapped me and my sister around a little bit, but she didn't like beat the shit out of us. Like I didn't ever have to like hide a black eye.
Yeah.
You know, I just got like a beer can thrown at me.
Sure. I will say like that's kind of, and maybe, I don't know if you all would agree with this, but I always think that the way that people kind of recover, it's something I talked to James Cooper a lot about too. The way that you kind of recover from like traumatizing experiences like that, I think has mostly to do with self-awareness. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like people who aren't self-aware at all, I feel like it's like, I don't know. They just don't have the tools for examining like, this is something that was out of my control and this is something that was in my control. And here's, you know what I mean? Like there's some introspection that goes into it. I think that you need to have that can give you some tools to like recover from shit like that. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's also like, no matter what kind of background you come from, or, you know, whether your life looks easy from someone looking in from the outside or not, like I think everybody has traumatizing experiences, and everybody has hills they have to climb up. And it's like, I think once I got a little bit older and kind of started maybe like, I'm saying maybe a lot. Sorry about that. I think once I got older and started actually thinking about the way I felt about being a kid, and like not necessarily being quite as nostalgic about it, but doing some examining of how that probably influenced me growing up, you know, like the theme of the podcast. I realized that I think that's why it's kind of important to listen to other people's experiences too. That's why it's important to talk about things like that. Like,
Totally.
I think most of the friends that I have are friends that I can have conversations like that with, and that's what makes them valuable.
I wonder. Yeah, exactly. I wonder if, like, I feel like I'm self-aware almost to like a fault sometimes. Like, I'm super critical. I'm super over-analytical. I mean, I will be the first to admit that I have a little ego. Like, I'm not some I'm not some dude that's walking around like, oh, my shit doesn't stink or whatever. But it's like, I know that like I was talking to Haley because she was on the podcast actually a couple episodes ago, and she was like, I was talking to somebody last night about being on the show, and she was like, she said something to the effect of like, you could probably just sit around and I was talking to her about editing the podcast, and she's like, oh, you probably like get off on that. You probably like to hear yourself talk. And I was like, I do. That's why I'm doing this. That's why I do this podcast, is because when I go to edit it, I'm like, I have a nice voice. Like, it's pleasurable.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah. And I'm not saying I'm the best, and I'm not saying that I couldn't be better, but I do have a little mini ego. I feel like I'm pretty down to earth, but everybody's got a bit of an ego sometimes. But I'm so self-aware. And then like, sometimes I wonder like, what's it like to not be self-aware? Because I know people that aren't. None of my friends, all my friends, I feel like are pretty self-aware, which is good because you want to surround yourself with people.
Well, that's why they're friends, you know?
But I like I know some people like, you know, maybe like ex coworkers or whatever that I'm just like, man, that must be nice. That must be nice just to fucking drift through life.
No, it's not nice. I mean, it's not nice at all. Like I honestly feel like, if you've ever worked a customer service job, which is basically my entire work experience, it's either food service or customer service or something like that, basically. Whenever you have to deal with that person who is just completely unreasonable and just completely self-absorbed to the point where they don't realize that they're being ridiculous, it's easy to get mad, and it makes everybody mad. That's why people hate customer service jobs for the most part. But at the same time, it's like, well, your life is probably miserable because you're an asshole who doesn't realize that what you're asking for is not reasonable at all. You know what I mean? Like, it's like
everything's a confrontation.
Yeah, like everything's a confrontation. Nothing comes easily to you if you have horrible people skills or if you're completely unaware of what you're projecting to other people, essentially, you know? I mean, I think your life must be really hard.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad.
That happens to me a lot, like when we're driving to work, like, because, you know, work in Edmond, and there's a lot of people that are not really self-aware up there because they got money and they think that they don't, you know, like, since they have money, they can like cut you off or like cut you in line or just whatever. A lot of cutting off. I don't know, whether it's in a car, at Walmart, you know, whatever. But I'm just like, wow, like that was a really asshole-ish thing to do. Or like I've heard somebody say something to somebody in public and I'm like, damn, like I wasn't raised that way.
Yeah.
Like my alcoholic mother did not raise me that way.
The cutting off thing, going to work, is interesting. You say that. It's something I don't think about it hardly ever. But the other day, going to work, and yeah, everyone's just in a fucking rush to get to a place they hate. They're cutting people off and it's whatever. I'm wondering how many people are on the road just in autopilot, like not really paying attention to anything around them. So they're cutting you off isn't in malice.
No, it's not. It's because they don't think of anybody but themselves.
Right.
It's just like, oh, I got to make this left here.
Yeah.
And I'm the same way when I drive, like talking about being like hyper self-aware. Like my head is on a constant swivel. I'm looking at my mirrors constantly. Like I'm a good driver because I'm so self-aware. It's like I will know if there's a car like within like 10 feet of me.
That gets
defensive driving. Techniques of defensive driving.
It gets stressful though. Like it's like you can white knuckle that steering wheel and be like, God, and just tension in your shoulders, like, fuck, just get there. I want to get there safe. And you get out of the car, like, fuck. And it wasn't even anything crazy. Like, you lived in Austin, right?
Yeah.
So being in that fucking traffic, like living anywhere with crazy traffic, it's just, I don't see how
you're getting anxious right now.
I know. I don't get how you can afford to be that unaware person. Like, in a
Well, that's
situation,
like-
especially like that.
I don't know how do you feel about, because you lived in California, how do you feel about public transit? How do you feel like being in an anonymous group of people?
I prefer that
Yeah.
to being in taking responsibility away from, not even responsibility, because, I mean, everyone says this. I'm a great driver. I'm just worried about everybody else on the road. Sure you are. But it takes two people to get in an accident. Even if that person hit you, you could have avoided it.
Yeah.
So taking that responsibility out of the situation and then putting it, I guess, in the hands of a bus driver or a subway or whatever. But it's safer, I guess, in a way, because you're taking a bunch of people off the road. It's more economical. I just think it's better. I mean, California's public transportation is kind of shitty, depending on where you go. They have a subway system that's fucking terrible. Their bus lines, I guess, are okay, pretty decent. But I think Dallas, Texas has some of the best fucking public transportation.
See, I've never been on a bus in Dallas. I have no idea what it's like there.
Dallas, actually, scratch that. Seattle, Washington.
Okay.
Hands down best public transportation.
I've never relied on it ever.
Oh,
ever.
you should try
Really?
it.
It's
I've
so
only
much fun.
been on a bus. I've only been on a city bus like maybe 3 times in my life, and it was when I was way young because my grandmother didn't drive, and my mom would like drop us off at my grandma's all weekend, and she would like take us to like Shepherd Mall from her house, which was just like down 23rd Street a little bit. So we would walk to the bus stop, get on the bus. She'd pay the 75 cents or whatever it was. And it was so fun as a kid, but I'm sure it's different if like you rely on it.
Yeah, I mean, I say it's fun. It's fun because it's not something that, well, even though Oklahoma City just won a public transportation award.
What?
Published on Lost Ogle. Yeah, go read the article. I don't know who wrote that one. I wonder if it wasn't. I read all of Lucas's articles.
That's gotta be an
because
Onion
I'm
type
devoted
article.
to Lucas, but yeah, I know.
Because
Totally.
we don't have public transportation.
Well, I think the award was won for what is being planned to come. And it's also for cities of a certain population threshold, which makes a huge difference because although Oklahoma City has a very broad area, the metropolitan area, the density is really low.
Yeah, but can you really say that? Oklahoma City is one of the largest, isn't it like one of the 3
area-wise, yeah.
But people don't all live in that. They're spread out.
Yeah.
However, that doesn't take away from the fact that the majority of people live within the downtown to like all these little districts, downtown to like 63rd Street, right?
But isn't that the problem with the public transportation is that we are a little too spread out for it to be like economically viable to have these like awesome routes with like tons of buses?
Possibly.
I think that's like the weird. I mean, I don't know. I'm no expert on city management.
not either,
but yeah.
no.
But you can there's a way you can I guess minimize it or I guess centralize it to different locations. So
So basically the point is that what you would want would be a speedier form of transit, whether it be light rail or
light rail would be great.
like a trolley system, something that is speedy and does not stop at traffic lights, etc. that can get you from hub to hub to hub to hub. And then from there you would have bus transit from those areas.
Well, we could even just start out going on city planning. Speaking of driving to work and shit, there's people who drive from Norman to work in Edmond and Edmond to work in Norman, that kind of shit, or Guthrie.
Yeah,
whatever.
totally.
Just have a light rail that does Guthrie, Edmond, Oklahoma City, Norman.
Yeah.
Those are your stops. And then from there, figure out how to do public transportation.
Or you could do the same from like, Shawnee, Midwest City, Oklahoma City,
well,
like
one north,
over
south, one east,
here,
west.
Yukon.
I mean, that's literally how it was in like the 30s.
Yeah.
Like that's the way that it worked. I mean, not covering as large of an area because we weren't as white flight had not happened yet, but
we had trains.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that's I think that's something that I'm not as well informed as I should be.
Have you been on a train?
I have been, yeah.
Like
my favorite no, I've never been on an Amtrak train.
Oh, you got to be a kid to get on an Amtrak.
I've only been on a train in Chicago.
Yeah, I've only been on a choo-choo train.
A choo-choo.
The one at the
Choo-choos are
mall
fun.
that goes around the carousel?
Yeah,
That
around
one?
Santa's workshop.
Yeah, that
it's
one.
wonderful.
It's a good train.
I
No stops. It just keeps going.
No, I sometimes like not to cut you off, but like sometimes I like fantasize about like living in New York and like man, like how cool would it be if I could just like get on a fucking subway and go to work and like listen to a podcast or like read or like, and I'm sure if I was doing that every day, I'd be like, God, I wish I could just get in my fucking car and drive home.
I mean, no, honestly, I don't think you would want to get in your fucking car and drive.
Well, maybe not
if you
there,
lived in,
but I mean like, oh, I wish I lived in Oklahoma where I could just drive back and forth to work.
Maybe. I think it just depends on how you're comfortable because it comes with its own problems. Like definitely. Like my, one of my really good friends, Addison, she lives in Brooklyn and works in Brooklyn. She really doesn't ever go to Manhattan at all. She spends like all of her time in Brooklyn. But she primarily rides her bike. She loves that. She does a lot of subway travel as well, but primarily bike. She just got in a really bad biking accident too. And I'm just like, oh shit, that sucks.
Is she hurt?
Yeah, she had to have surgery.
What?
Yeah, she got fucked up.
So like
which
a car
is
hit her or
scary.
something, or?
I think that what happened was there was like a pothole or some kind of scare where the bike flipped and she flew off it and it was bad. I would have to look at my Facebook to know exactly what happened.
Right.
But I saw her right before that and she was loving it. Like she was biking all over the place, like looked great, seemed like she was happy doing it, you know, like it was fun.
Oh, for sure.
So she really enjoys that. And what was kind of weird about it was that I was there when we were touring. So it was all of us slammed in Tim's van, Cherry Death in a van, driving around Brooklyn, which is, I don't know how Tim didn't lose his mind doing that, because trying to navigate driving in Brooklyn in a huge Dodge is like, that's nerve wracking. That's white knuckle for sure. Like, that would
get like 5 lanes to cut over or whatever. Yeah.
Let's take a quick break, and I want to pick back up with that if that's cool.
Oh, sure.
Okay, we're back.
Welcome back.
Boyspodcast.com.
Boyspodcast@AOL.com. You can email your concerns, questions, likes, dislikes. Maybe you have an idea, a story idea.
Anything. Just send us an email.
Send us an email.
And yeah, Lacey, thanks for being here tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Awesome. And yeah, that's one thing I did want to touch on before we took our little break here. You mentioned riding in a van through Brooklyn. And you know, not to get too cliche, but you know, being one of our first female guests besides the illustrious Haley Rolane, you know, I kind of just wanted to pick your brain about, like, you know, being a girl in a band. I know that sounds kind of cliche and whatnot, but I'm just curious, like, that's got to be interesting. There's got to be some there's got to be like some stories or some or just something to be you in that experience, because, like, let's face it, like, you know, places here in Oklahoma that bands play, the Shop, you know, these house shows, things like that, like, it's a predominantly dude place. I mean, there's some women in the mix there, you know,
throwing about, yeah.
But, you know, to be in this scene and be in a van with these smelly, sweaty dudes. I mean, you might be smelly and sweaty yourself. Were you ripping farts like you were at the gift shop?
Yeah, sure.
Van farts.
Everyone rips farts in the van.
Are there any? I've never toured. Okay, so I've been in bands like here and there, or whatever, but I've never went on tour.
We actually had this conversation about how, I mean, you could just call the air in the van. It is like just a literal communal fart, basically. Mm-hmm. We were talking about how, like, the inside of the van at some point was just a hurricane of our, like, skin flakes and spittle and farts and just BO and body hair, and all of it's just like whirling around and blowing in your face at 70 miles per hour while you go down the highway. It was a great experience.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
I could see the beauty in that, but like,
Yeah.
I'm a dry boy. I'm a clean boy. I'm not tough enough. And that's the thing. It's like, I don't mean like, tell me about being a fragile girl in a band of dudes. It's like, I couldn't do that myself. So I'm curious.
I mean, I was actually going to say, I'm lucky enough, I think, to be in a band and play music with people who are totally chill and like-minded and supportive of me and me so of them as well. Like oh my gosh, I love everybody that I toured with. I love everybody who's ever played with Cherry Death or even just been on recordings. Like, I think, oh my gosh, I think the number is probably like 14, 15, 16 people have been on those recordings.
Yeah.
And touring was great. In fact, I would say it's maybe when I started going to what you would consider like the DIY shows, like in Oklahoma City, I still feel like I could be more supportive of the music scene all the time. Like I get my own head stuck up my ass all the time and just kind of am paying attention to other things. Mm-hmm. But I mean, there are a lot of girls I know in the scene and just a lot of people who aren't gender binary who I think do a great job of being really inclusive. And thankfully, that was my experience the whole time we were on tour. You know, we're playing like all basements. We played a couple bars, but mostly basements, house shows, like, and all really set up through either directly through Tim Buchanan and contacts that he has or friends of friends. And I mean, played with a bunch of awesome people. It's like, and actually, I see more ladies, women, or, you know, people I assume who identify as women out and about than ever before. It's actually weirder to me to be 30 and have a salary job and be touring than it is for me to be like a woman touring, you know?
I can totally see that.
Yeah, for sure.
And places like the Shop, you know, that's the second time I've referenced that, but like places like that is something that I learned from playing there a couple times with Found Footage was like, it is a very inclusive scene. Like growing up, you go to shows and it's very like bro-y. It still is. Like you go to maybe things are getting better just kind of across the board. Like when we went to see Coheed a couple weeks ago, like there wasn't the masculine bro-y aggro air to the crowd that there was maybe 10 years ago.
Well, I'm sure there are shows that are like that.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe there was like one show the entire tour, which was, I think we were out for like 3.5 weeks, almost 4 weeks, and probably played, I don't know, I'm going to say 23, 24 shows. There was maybe one that felt a little bro-y. And honestly, like that's not too bad of a ratio.
No, it's pretty good.
But at the same time, I've talked to women that I know who don't necessarily feel like the scene is that inclusive.
Really?
So there's always room for improvement. And to me, it's kind of like what we were talking about. A marker of a good friend is someone you can actually talk to and talk about your experiences with, and they validate you and say, yeah, I get that. I understand that you experienced that, and let's talk about it. Let's talk it out. We're buddies. Like, I feel like that's the more important thing is that whether or not you feel like your experience was, I don't know, rough or positive or whatever, as long as you listen to other people's experiences and take that to heart and try to include that in what you're doing, that's all you can do. Like, really, I think everybody, when it comes down to it, everyone wants to be a good person.
Right.
So if someone tells you, I feel uncomfortable because of this, you're like, oh, shit. I didn't realize that. I'm so glad you told me that. Like, I will try to do that differently.
Well, once they tell you that, you probably kind of like start to notice it yourself. You know, it's like,
yeah, for
it's
sure.
all about perspective and point of view where, you know, like going to the Shop again, like it did seem very inclusive. I mean, it's still like, you know, if you had to like quantify it, it is still mostly guys.
Yeah.
But, you know, the women there, you know, whatever, like, it didn't have this like, it wasn't the 80s. It wasn't like the Roxy where it was like the metal dudes and then like the bimbos and, you know, like
sure.
it's truly like people who are there for the music. It's it's a social thing and people, you know, drink and have fun and shoot fireworks and all that shit. But it was definitely more about like being there for music. And it's just really interesting to me, and it's just cool. Like
I mean, I think it's awesome. Like I definitely, especially like I'm from Oklahoma City originally, and you know, I went to shows like live music and, you know, punk shows, hardcore shows, screamo shows, like all that kind of shit. Probably from age like 14 on. Like I went to before 89th Street Collective was the Conservatory. And then before that, it was Green Door. And I went to opening night, like opening weekend at Green Door.
Wow.
So that was like as long as I've been going to shows. Like my dad dropped me off there and shit.
Was that your first show?
No, I've been going to Christian shows before that.
Of course.
Haven't we all?
Yeah, even though I wasn't really a Christian at the time, that was like was my chance to go see bands. And like, actually, I would say, I don't know if it's like this for you, but when I was a teenager, I got way more of a high going to see live music than I ever got from church.
Oh, for sure.
Like that was kind of like the communal experience I had been looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And as a teenager, you know, I had a lot of anxiety issues when I was younger. And like, I think I was just really, really shy in general. So at the time, if you had asked me, how do you feel being female at this show? I probably would have been like, I don't really talk to anybody and no one really talks to me, and I just stand here, and there's like the 4 people I know. And I don't want to invalidate anybody else's experience, but in a lot of ways, I think that had a lot to do with where I was personally, not the scene. At the same time, I mean, the scene was a different thing 15 years ago. Totally.
Totally. Yeah. It's just weird for like just bringing it back to me like I always do. It's like I'm kind of the opposite. Like when I was young, I didn't have anxiety, but now that I get older, I mean, truth be told, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I stepped down from found footage was because, like, you know, we went a while without playing a show and we practiced. That was fun. I was around my guys, you know, like we were writing music and whatnot. But the anticipation up to that next show that was bound to happen eventually, like it made me so like, it just made me lock up. Like I couldn't do it anymore. And that's what it sucks. It sucks because, and like we've talked about it, like Josh, you played a show last night.
I did.
And, you know, we were talking about it yesterday.
Now you're all bruised.
He's all bruised.
I'm bruised.
But I was like,
fault.
And this totally made me sound like an asshole. And that's why I wanted to bring it up on the podcast because I wanted to get your thoughts on it. But you were like, oh yeah, I got a show tonight. And I was like, man, that sounds fucking horrible. I was like there is not a bone in my body that would want to do that tonight. Like after we work all day, maybe it's getting older. Maybe it's just the anxiety or maybe whatever. Maybe I finally got found out that I was phoning it in all these years. You know, I was like, oh, he's not that good.
No, I don't. I actually, I think you're kind of selling yourself short because and this is something that I think that I've only recently started to get. And, you know, I mentioned being 30 and being on tour. That feels kind of old to me. But at the same time, I mean, yeah, I can go into it and be self-conscious about how old I am or whatever the fuck. But when it comes down to it, I don't care how old I am. I don't really think other people care how old I am. No. And if they do, then fuck them. I mean, it's the same as if they were like, oh, yeah, that band's got a woman in it.
Right.
Like, fuck you. That doesn't fucking matter. And why are you even, you're making yourself look like an idiot right now. So you kind of have to call bullshit on yourself when you say things like that. Some people don't like playing live. And playing music isn't about playing shows, DIY shows or huge shows or getting big or how many recordings you can put out or whatever. I mean, there's so many people involved in music and making music, and some people just make music for themselves. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, it is like, it's an art form, and if you like it, do it in whatever capacity you want, you know?
Yeah. Totally. But with me, I just felt like, you know, over the years, I was like, you know, being in bands, that's so fun, you know, playing shows, like, again, the camaraderie of being in a band. And I was always more about like, I like making the t-shirts. I like making the flyers, you know, all this stuff. But as I got older, I was like, man, like, and again, I'm not trying to like get pity or whatever, but just like, I just never felt like I really did the homework that I should have as far as being like a musician, large air quotes. Like, not that I know I can play guitar, okay, whatever. But I just kind of felt like as I got older, I just looked forward to playing less and less and less, and I would get super anxious. Again, going back to the shop, I think it might have been the last show I played with found footage, but there were were quite a few people there, and it was fun. Like, it was like, man, like, people like us, even though like we're kind of older and we're kind of like left of center. Even in the punk scene, it was like we're not quite punk enough, or nor
would
we're
that
not
make
quite.
you a little right of center?
Yeah, I guess. So. I guess so. Yeah, we're normies,
Oh,
but you know, like,
that's not true.
there were like kids there that liked us, like, you know, moving around, like being very like receptive of what we're putting out.
Mm-hmm.
But like as soon as we were done, I was just like, okay, I gotta go. And it wasn't because I didn't want to watch the other bands. It was just like, you know, the clock was ticking. I got to get home and get to bed because I got to get up in the morning. And I think it's all just in my head, you know, totally was. But it just got to the point where I was like, I just don't know if this is for me. And there's nothing wrong with that. Just like there's nothing wrong with being 50 years old and being in a touring DIY punk band. Like I see that a lot. Like I've got some friends that live out in California, and they'll like post pictures from like these like house shows out there, you know. Or like same with like Everything Is Not Okay. Like you see bands that come through, and there's like dudes up there with like gray hair and like beer bellies. And
Yeah,
like,
fuck yeah.
But dude, they're like,
That's
they're
awesome.
all in, and I just hats off to
well,
them.
but you say that, but at the same time, you don't know if somebody's all in. You can watch someone perform and you don't know what the rest of their life is like. You
True.
don't know if that stresses them out. You don't know if they've been preparing for this for 6 months, or if somebody was like 2 weeks before, hey, we're going to do this thing. Do you want to come, or should we get old Donnie to go? You know, like that kind of thing.
Yeah. True.
You never know. Like, and that's kind of, I would say, as far as like getting comfortable with playing shows, like I'm sure you guys are like this because you play music and you play shows, and when you see a band that really moves you and you think is fantastic, you always watch them and you think, I'm never going to be able to do that. Like,
Right.
I can't. Or for me, it's like I can see someone in a band who is just dynamic, like bouncing off the walls, like just full of energy, and I love it. Like I feed off of it. It's amazing. That's not how I am at all. And if I were to just give myself shit every time about it, A, I'd feel like a piece of shit, and B, it would probably be discouraging. And then also, it's like my friend Lenora, they toured with Cherry Death and came. It was a blast. You know, they fronted a lot of bands where they're moving around a lot, rolling around, and it's very physically hard. Like, it is physically hard. Like, they've told me before, I feel worn out after this.
It's a young person's game.
It is. It's a little bit of a young person's game. Yeah, I agree with that.
I think
totally.
doing like the somersaults and like,
but it's fucking cool, right?
It is
I mean,
cool,
like,
yeah.
especially
it's
when
awesome.
you're into it, it's awesome. Or Olivia Gibb, who's in Warm Bodies now, in Kansas City. Man, like when I see them perform, they're great musicians. But Olivia, I had never seen do anything musically. Like, I didn't know she's an amazing artist. Like, she's super chill and really cool. Known her for years. You know, she went to class in SAS and knows a ton of the same people. So I knew her as an artist. And then whenever I saw Warm Bodies perform, I was just like, holy shit, where have you been hiding this shit?
right.
Because it's like a whole new persona, and fucking sells it. Not like I feel like I'm, you know, it's not like a burger or something. It's not like a commodity.
Right.
Like, the performance is great. And I think that's amazing. And there are times where I wish that was me, but it's not me. And I think part of like the self-awareness and the self-acceptance is you have to go like, this is what I like to do. This is how I feel comfortable. And, you know, honestly, like, people will like it or they won't. And if they don't like it, then that's cool, you know?
Yeah. It's funny you bring up Olivia, because I have like, to put it the best way I can in my brain right now, it's like I have the biggest like stranger crush on her. Like, I don't know her. I've never met her.
Cool.
I love her
know.
art, and I loved her art for years. I own some of her art. I've followed her on Instagram. I've never spoken a word to her. In fact, I don't even know if I've ever like seen her in person, other than maybe just like in passing. But then I saw that she was in a band, and I was like, man, that's perfect for somebody like her, because I get it. I get what she's doing. And then to hear they're so awesome, like, I want to see them. I haven't seen them because I don't really, I don't go to shows very often, but
yeah, they're cool as fuck.
But I was like, man, like, I just want to talk to her. Like, I just want to like sit outside of a house show or something and just like pick her brain about art, or like have her on the podcast, you know, something like that. Like, just because like, I don't know her. I don't know what her voice sounds like. I don't know her at all, but like in my brain, I'm like, man, I just want to be your friend. Like, and that's what the stranger crush thing is. It's like, you know someone through like social media or music or art or whatever, and you're like, I just want to sit down and like talk to you and get to know you because I just think that you're a cool individual.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny, like going back to playing, I remember Garrett one time after a found footage show, he was like, dude, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I had a great time. He goes, you just looked super stressed out the whole time. And I was like, well, A, this music is hard. I'm used to playing like shitty pop punk or like Neil Young covers or whatever. Like this music is hard. I have to like concentrate on what I'm playing. He's like, you just looked really upset. And I was like, no.
Aw.
But then, but like you said a minute ago, I was like, maybe that's just not me. Maybe that's just not what I am meant to do. And I don't mean like playing music or not playing music, but I still fantasize about playing in a band. But like I've always wanted to be in that band that's like Slacker. And they practice once before a show and it goes great, even though it's like chaotic and shitty.
Well, I think that depends on what you mean by great. Because once you have the right expectation, it's all gold, you know?
Right.
Like it's, I don't know. Josh, how do you feel about it? You never look nervous when you're playing.
Thanks. Are you talking like the Sense While Here stuff or like
basically anytime I've ever seen you in a band, like you always look jovial to me. Like you look like you're having a good time, which is, I think, great to watch. I also kind of like people's nervous faces or concentrating faces too.
Right.
Like I'm an observer of all kinds of performers, you know. So
well, how I do it is I'm hoping that I'm portraying that while in the inside the whole time going, don't fuck it up. Don't fuck it up. Hey, you're doing this bass line. Don't fuck that bass line up. You know? Or like behind the drums, like, that fucking drum fill's coming. Don't fuck that up. But I'm like, just trying to like make it look like I'm having a good time. Because at the same, who the fuck am I kidding? I'm playing the Blue Note, or I'm playing VZDs, or I'm playing Conservatory. Mm-hmm. No one really gives a shit. No one knows my band. You've never heard my band.
So the expectations are set low.
Right.
But in my brain, I was keeping myself accountable was like super high. And like if I had a stage presence, it would be this. Like I'm just huffing, I'm red as fuck, I'm sweaty, my hair is like clinging to my face.
I mean, hey, I've seen plenty of stage performances like that too. Like, you know,
Like someone just staring at their like fretboard the whole time, like, it's stressed out, like zone in look.
Well, plus I just think I'm just kind of soft. Like I'm not meant for the road. I'm just not. Like and that's okay. There's nothing in the world wrong with that. Well, and I'm glad that like I can like admit that. No, I just, could play something else or whatever.
But you're still musical. I mean, you like creating music, whether it be like a song or like crazy beats and shit. Like you just bought a bunch of the Volca sampler stuff.
Yeah, I recently got into like buying synthesizer stuff, and like I have a couple of drum machines, and to me that is so fun to just like sit down and like hook all this bullshit together and just like make a beat, run it through some pedals. I got my little toy synthesizer over here, and like, but I think it's almost like more rewarding because I'm doing it for me. And I think going back to my ego, Walmart boy's ego, I think that like even in found footage or moving back like Purple Church or whatever it was before that, like I always felt like I maybe took it a little too seriously. If I was like a little like more like laissez-faire about it, I might like have more fun if I didn't put this, because I put a lot of pressure on myself, whether it's this podcast or work or whatever.
I'm going to vote yes. You should have more fun.
I agree. I totally agree. Well,
I think that, Lacey, that might be why I do have like, I guess, a jovial, like, what did you say? Expression or whatever when I'm playing, like I'm having a good time. It's because I don't take it. I don't take any band I'm in too seriously, because I know it's just me, and well, I'm mostly playing trio, so two other dudes. Like Rob said, like we practiced the day before, and like we know these 9-10 songs. Fuck it, let's just get up there and do it. Let's have a couple of beers and just have a good time. If we fuck up, no one's gonna know.
Yeah, and it's over. Yeah. If you fucked up, then you fucked up.
Yeah,
I mean, it's all you can do is just like. You don't even have to stick the dismount. It's like you can fall on the ground afterwards. And I mean, the thing is, if you can take it in stride and, hey, it's performance. Who fucking knows what's going to happen? I mean, oh my gosh. Like this is a This is a freshman mistake. Let me tell you the story about how, and by the way, this is how experienced I am sometimes, like my experience level shows occasionally. This is how I learned the difference between a bass cab and a guitar cab.
Oh, no.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We were in Toronto and we were playing with, two, I think just two other bands now that I'm thinking about it. And they were just like the most fucking tough, awesome, fast, like fucking people sweating, going nuts, like hardcore bands. Like all like super chill people, not like bro-y, but these are intense bands. And we're supposed to get up and go afterwards. And like, you know, Cherry Death can range from like, I don't know, Cherry Death can range from like the Birds on Acid to like kind of more of like a Dinosaur Jr.-y kind of thing. Like, you know, like it can be very broad and sometimes it can come off Brandy 70s or, you know.
Or the thing I saw today, like this weird, like double horn free jazz thing that was like,
oh yeah.
Like,
that was the intro of the whole tour.
and I'm not gonna lie, like it took me a minute to wrap my head around that. I watched it today at work because I saw that it was posted and then Tim reposted it. And just to be totally honest, like the first minute of it, I was like, what the fuck is this? And then I like started to hear like the sub rhythm in it and things like that. And I was like, okay, I kind of get it now.
That sounded different every single time we played it. And it doesn't help a lot whenever the sound quality is bad. But at the same time, it made it kind of cooler that the sound quality was bad. That was at Tommy's house. And Tommy's like, oh, such a badass. That guy's so awesome. He's in Carbon Leak. And, well, I don't think that Carbon Leak is playing anymore, but he is just, like, the best dude. And his band is cool. We played with them, like, the year before whenever we were in Chicago. He's great. Put us up at his awesome house, like, smoked us out before we went to bed, smoked us out when we woke up in the morning. We left a bunch of shit at his house because we waited to load out until after we smoked weed. I don't know why we did that. That was dumb. But that show was a blast. He shoots all this stuff, video footage, and then projects it on the bands behind them, like while they play.
Very
it was great.
That's pretty dope.
Yeah, it was really fun. But basically, we're playing after these tough bands that have made it a little intimidating to go on. We're told, hey, you got like 15 minutes. Can you wrap it up? And it's like, oh, we haven't even started yet. We got 15 minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
And I plug my bass head straight into the first fucking cab I see, which was a guitar cab. So when we started, halfway through the first song, the vibrations rattled the speaker cable out of the back of the cab, and Blake Lusk, who toured with us, scrambles back there. I scramble back there. Like the rest of the band is just still going, because that's basically our stance. If something cuts out, everybody, you don't stop. Everybody goes.
Keep
like
it
fuck
rolling.
it.
Right.
So I'm like going back and forth between scrambling, between checking all my cables and the pedal, and like doing the vocal lines at the same time. So I'm just like in and then I'm out, and then I'm in and then I'm out. And finally we figure out that the speaker cable will not stay in that cab, and Blake Lusk sits back there behind that cab and holds that speaker cable in the rest of the fucking set.
That's awesome.
It was awesome. But then afterwards, like, of course, the guy whose cab it was, and of course, like we checked with the person who set up the show, and they were like, yeah, totally, use their cab. It's not a big deal. Use this cab. And I plugged in the wrong fucking cab. The dude comes up afterwards and is like, hey, you should really ask people before you play with their gear, because I would have told you that was a guitar cab. And I was just like, hi, I'm Lacey. Yeah. I'm really sorry. Like, so sorry about that. I am a literal dumbass, and I so appreciate, like, that you did not freak out on me mid-set.
Yeah,
and,
like run up there
thank
and be
you
like,
so much. Like, I'm really, really sorry. And
did it blow his cabinet or anything?
No.
Oh.
It was fucking fine.
Ooh.
Like, no, it wouldn't. And actually, the bass sounded really fucking cool through that cab.
Yeah.
But, yeah, he wasn't pissed. He just, like, gave the impression he was going to be pissed for a second. Rightly so.
Yeah, sure.
But, yeah, Blake did me a massive solid, and that was embarrassing. But everybody got fucking into it, and we ended up playing, like, 2 more songs because they wouldn't let us stop playing, and that was great. And that was in Toronto, and then we smoked a lot of weed, and then, yeah.
Canadian grass.
Dude, and speaking
that
of
shit's good.
Blake, man, that album he put out, I know I'm a little late to the party, but
come on into the party.
I don't want to leave this party.
Shit.
Like, I want to leave like most parties. Before I even get there, I'm like, I don't want to go. And then once I'm here, like I'll be cool for a little bit. And then I'm like, man, I'm like looking at my watch and I'm like nodding to Erica, like, let's go.
Mm-hmm.
And she ignores me. But
well, and that's
that
kind of what I
album
mean
is so
too.
good.
Yeah,
God, it's fucking amazing.
It's really awesome. Yeah, for sure. And that's kind of what I mean too when I say that, like, there's so much shit going on musically all the time that I don't always feel like a great advocate or ally for the scene because it's hard for me to keep up with what everybody is doing.
There's too much.
Well, but that's kind of a fucking awesome problem to have, right? Yeah. So I will say occasionally when I'm talking to someone and they're like, "Oh, I used to go to shows and I don't go as often anymore." I'm like, you should just come to some.
Yeah, totally.
You should do it.
Totally.
not you can't go to all of them.
No, you can't. And no one should act like you need to. You don't. Like, come to ones that you want, but come out once in a while because there's always shit going on. And that was a lesson that I kind of came away from tour with too, because don't get me wrong, I was intimidated to go on tour for almost a month. I didn't think I was hard enough. Yeah. I was worried about missing my husband and missing my cat. And also oh my gosh, I've never taken a month off work in the entire fucking time that I've been working since I was 15. So that was pretty nerve-wracking. But it's like, with anything, it's like you start doing it, you kind of find a stride. I mean, shit isn't perfect all the time, but at the end of the day, like, did I want to be back at home going to work instead? Fuck no.
Yeah.
As soon as it was over, I was like, oh, I have to go back to work now? I went through like a solid 2 or 3 weeks of like this kind of weird limbo-y depressive state because it felt so weird to be home. Like I wanted to hold my cat and sleep on my mattress and like spoon my husband. But other than that, I'd rather be in the van any day. It's a blast.
And that was kind of like the last question I had about the touring and whatnot. And, this is nothing to do with being gender specific, but yeah, it's like, you miss home when you're out, but as soon as you get home, you're telling me that it's like, God, I just got to do that again.
Yeah, it's like a double-edged sword. Yeah. Totally. Yeah, you get a taste of it, and I think that you want to do it more. Yeah.
And I'm sure, as soft as I am, self-proclaimed, I'm sure, like, if I was forced into that, not forced, but,
if someone tied you up and threw you in a van, like, you're playing guitar.
No,
it's
like a jawbreaker kind of thing where we're going to abduct you and take you, but we accidentally kill you. And then.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Great movie. Good reference.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, but now that we're older and wiser and maybe more financially astute, you can do it in a much more comfortable fashion. Whereas I think a lot of the fear or a lot of the you're too soft or whatever is, I don't want to be in a rickety, shitty van with smelly dudes or women or whatever in a van. Like, well, you don't have to do that. You can rent an RV.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, you can just get the fuck over it and sit in a van with some stinkers. I mean, I was a total stinker.
Instead of sleeping in a van, you can get a hotel. I got a hotel both nights we played in Kansas.
All right, but that's not a 4-week tour.
No, it's not.
There are some differences here.
Well, here's the thing, too, that I think made an impression on me was that, financially, for us, we were happy to have some fucking gas station beer and some burritos and a place to stay. And we got that pretty much every single night. I think we stayed in a hotel, 2 nights maybe of the whole tour.
Yeah.
And I mean, we got, my friend Addison put us up in Brooklyn, and Atlee's brother Ethan Hickerson put us up when we were going through Richmond, and we had a show fall through. And I mean, there's just more people than I can rattle off that like did nice things for us, just fed us, gave us blankets, let us stay up until 4 a.m. smoking their pot, played us Miles Davis albums, just like people take great care of you. And it kind of actually reaffirmed my belief that deep down there are good people everywhere,
Oh, for sure.
Like, it's really easy to have like a jaded attitude about it where you're like, I don't want to sit in the van and be sweaty and stinky. We didn't have AC, by the way, which was kind of interesting.
Oh, for 3 weeks.
We had a box fan. But it's like being in the stinky van. And I mean, it's a great van. Gary's a great van. That thing only broke down once the whole time. But it makes you even more grateful for all of the nice things that people do for you.
Sure.
And it does kind of reorient you where you're like, man, it's not that hard to put people up. Like, it just kind of gives you the sense of community, even if it's not because I wouldn't say that I will admit, either because of my age or I don't know just how supportive I am in general. Like, I'm not the hugest supporter of the DIY scene. I could do way more to help other people out, but I feel very supported by it, even knowing that I'm not like, I wouldn't say that I'm not like a cool kid, you know? It's like, it kind of makes you remember that it's not about how you look or the people you know or whatever. So there are people out there who are willing to do nice things for you if you're willing to put the effort in. And that was kind of what I came away from it with.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
It makes me want to do that. You know
You
what
don't
I'm
have
saying?
to do that. It's totally
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
It makes you feel like a good person just for hearing it.
Yeah, like, you know what?
Like,
Why do I need to do it? I can
Don't.
just hear you talk about it and feel completely validated
Yeah.
without putting in any of the work, sweat,
Yeah,
blood,
yeah.
tears, any of that
Well,
stuff.
and plus, like for me too, I will say, as a woman, I don't have any specific stories that I would say made me feel. I don't know. I didn't have any experiences on tour, and I really haven't had any experiences playing in a band that make me feel singled out for my gender or whatever, or my sexual orientation either. But when I was a 15-year-old girl going to shows, I never thought that I would be in a van for a month with a bunch of people that I love playing music every single night.
yeah.
And that felt really cool. Like, to me, like, regardless of whatever your background is or whether you're a dude or not a dude or anything else, like, if you want to get out there and play music, that would be go fucking do it. Doesn't fucking matter how old you are or whatever, you know? If that's what you want to do, you can make it happen. So,
Totally.
yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're hitting our time. We're going to have you back for the perf story.
Oh, the perv
right.
story.
We didn't get to it. I mean, if we can get to it, or you can come back.
I mean, I can tell you super fast.
All right.
Okay.
1
so
minute, go. No, I'm just kidding.
I can do it in a minute. So perf story is.
I bet you can.
I know, like
Hello.
adolescence. We all had epic makeout sessions during our adolescence, right?
Of
Till your
course.
lips are like
Yeah,
raw
till your
and your
face
nose
is
bleeds.
chapped and
Yeah.
your
I
jeans
remember-
are all
yeah.
hot.
Yeah. One of the first times I ever had an epic car makeout session. I think it was in a church parking lot, and afterwards, he drove me home and dropped me off, and I get home and I get in my bedroom. I'm like looking at my little Nokia, and I get a text message, and I open up the text message, and it says, "I was so hard that on the way home, I brushed my dick against the steering wheel and I creamed my pants." And it was kind of fucking awesome.
All
Yeah,
right.
there you go. That's the perf story.
That was wonderful and well
You're
under
welcome.
a minute.
Yeah.
Just like him.
What a great ending.
I just thought it would be appropriate. You guys
Sure.
like to talk about creaming pants, right?
We do.
Yeah.
That was a great euphemism, actually.
Yeah.
Creaming pants.
Creaming pants. Well,
Or shorts.
I'll tell you what, on that note, I got to go cream the pants. Lacey Tackett, you're a beautiful person inside and out. Thank you so much for coming
Thanks
on
for
the
having
show.
me.
It's been awesome.
Bye.